Hello, my name is Sherry Gandell, Assistant Director of Corporate and Exhibition Services for RSNA, and I'd like to welcome everyone that's joining us this morning for our webinar, How to Promote Your RSNA Exhibit, Tools and Strategies for Event Marketing and Media Relations, presented by the team from Cision PR Newswire. During this webinar, you will be able to send questions through the chat, which will be answered at the end of the presentation. I also want to mention that we are recording today's webinar, and we'll be posting it to our exhibitor best practices page for anyone that may have missed the live broadcast, or if you just want to play it back for reference. RSNA works hard to partner with companies and provide the necessary tools to ensure that your RSNA exhibit is a success. So we are happy to have Trina Louie and Ariane Muldoon joining us today. They are both operations analysts and partner success managers for our partner Virtual Press Office, which is Cision PR Newswire's trade show division. They have several years of experience counseling clients on event-related content and have attended and exhibited at numerous trade shows. Thank you both for joining me today, and now I'm going to hand it off to Trina to get started.
All right, thanks Sherry, and thank you everyone for joining us. Today, we are going to show you how to promote your RSNA presence through multiple channels to ensure your story reaches as many interested audiences as possible. We will also provide tips and best practices for creating quality content so you can get the attention of the media and buyers at the show. In this webinar, we will go over who we are as a company, why pre-show marketing is important, and what the RSNA online press room is and how to use it. You'll also discover tools that are available to help you accomplish your event goals, and we'll provide an in-depth look into each of those tools and demonstrate how RSNA exhibiting companies have successfully utilized them in the past. And now I will hand it off to Ariane to start us off.
As I skip a slide trying to unmute myself. Okay, so before we begin throwing all sorts of stats and tips at you, we wanted to give you a little bit of background on who we are and what we do. Virtual Press Office is essentially Cision PR Newswire's trade show division, and our ultimate goal is to help you tell your story by really leveraging the power of RSNA. VPO was founded way back in 1996 and invented the online trade show press office as an environmentally friendly alternative to traditional paper press kits. Now, after being in business for over 20 years, today we are a leader in online press office management and event marketing solutions. And that foundation is built on top of the PR Newswire brand that many of you may be familiar with. PR Newswire has been in business for over 65 years, and our bread and butter is news and finding ways to help your news stand out. We've been partners with RSNA for well over a decade now and have seen it evolve over the years, so we're very much looking forward to this year's annual meeting. In previous years, we had the opportunity to actually be able to attend RSNA ourselves, and we've worked with hundreds of brands in the industry like Fujifilm and Philips, so we're familiar with the kind of content and goals that are really common in this space. We also understand all of the hard work that goes into preparing for an event like this. This webinar is really happening at the perfect time because October is when strategy and marketing planning should be ramping up for everyone. The good news is that there's plenty of time to put something together, even if you're starting from scratch, and we'll be here as a resource for you to help make your experience a success. So let's get started by first taking a look at some numbers that will put everything we'll be talking about into perspective. Pre-show marketing is crucial to your event strategy, and these statistics help illustrate why. 70% of attendees decide which booths to visit before the event, but only 13% of companies do some type of pre-show marketing. These two stats immediately tell a story. If you want to be part of the conversation when 70% of attendees are making booth decisions, they need to know about you before the show. There's always going to be a level of serendipity at an event, and that's part of what makes them so great. But you want to make sure that your company is being set up for as much traffic as possible, and pre-show promotion can really help with that. Of the companies that do use pre-show marketing, less than half, just about 40%, are actually, tracking and measuring the results of those efforts. This number is actually higher than what I would have guessed because, even with all the technology and tools at our disposal, it's still just really hard to track things sometimes. But this number should be 100%. If you're going to invest in pre-show promotion, you need to be able to show some sort of data to prove ROI and inform your strategy going forward. If you're trying to argue for a larger trade show budget or you're trying to explain why your dollars were well spent, your boss, your colleagues will probably want to see some actionable numbers to back that up. So think about what success would look like for you and what benchmarks are important to your company, and then select solutions that support that vision. And then finally, 63% of exhibitors see the value and importance of pre-show promotion just continuing to increase. If you're not doing pre-show marketing, your competitors are, or they soon will be. So I'd argue that these efforts are more important than they've ever been because so many things compete for our attention, both before and at the event. If an attendee has you on their list and are looking forward to seeing your booth, it's likely that they'll make a point to visit come showtime. So the bottom line here is that pre-show promotion will help you stand out in a crowd and, can really just only benefit your brand. So if I've, just made you panic because you've already spent most of your trade show budget or haven't done much pre-show marketing yet, not to worry. While there are a lot of pre-show marketing options out there, we like to focus on ones that are just accessible, easy to execute, and low cost with high impact. These best practices are applicable to, physical, virtual, and even hybrid events. So no matter how someone is participating in RSNA, this is something that you can take advantage of. Email is an effective tool that just about everyone is already utilizing. You can use email for media pitches, custom invites to customers, and of course, broad marketing blasts to your own house lists. Social media is something that can get overlooked for a technical, more professional show like RSNA. However, if your customers and peers are on social media, which they are, you should be too. Event microsites are just continuing to increase in popularity, and for good reason. They offer a one-stop shop for timely, concise, relevant content. If someone is looking for information related to your company at the show, it's a lot better to send them to, your event landing page than just telling them to go to your website, where you kind of just have to hope that they find what they're looking for or hope they make it into your lead funnel. We'll dig much deeper into event microsites shortly. Blog posts are another great way to connect with your audience leading up to the event. This space is perfect for offering teasers about what you'll be announcing during the show or putting a spotlight on, like a company representative that might have a presentation slot or something like that. It's a great way to feature them. While there are a lot of other promotional methods out there, like direct mail and ads, don't forget about the existing content you already have. Things like press releases, brochures, and multimedia can be very effective across your owned and paid spaces to produce results, and they also lend themselves very well to the digital space, which complements your physical booth. So if you were feeling a little overwhelmed a few minutes ago, I hope you know you're not out of options or resources. If you do even just one of these tactics, honestly, you'll already be ahead of the game. So one resource in particular that we're excited to invite you to participate in is the official RSNA online press room, which you can do by purchasing an online press kit package. The online press room is an important resource for media, attendees, and industry professionals that can give you a huge visibility boost. I do want to take a moment to clarify that the press room is indeed different and separate from the directory, Map Your Show, or any sponsorship opportunities that you may already be familiar with, but it easily coexists with them. So let's go over some basics about the press room before we get into the press kit and package specifics. So firstly, there are a few different ways to access the online press room. You can either reach it directly at rsna.vporoom.com. We have the link there for you, or you can navigate to it from RSNA's website in the RSNA 2023 newsroom. Once there, you can see why we call it a comprehensive resource. It's sort of just a one-stop shop for everything from the latest headlines to RSNA's social media, as well as links to exhibitor press kits with more in-depth content. Journalists are also directed to this page to source their stories around the show. We've been doing online press rooms for decades because they're convenient and measurable. This site is available 24/7, 365. It's search engine optimized, can handle any sort of content, and is really easy to edit. So if a journalist is on deadline and needs an image at 3 a.m., they can find what they're looking for right here. Having news online also gives it longevity. Once the information is out there and indexed by Google, someone will always be able to find it. Any news releases that appear on this page will also automatically get sent out to the registered media list for RSNA, which we'll be talking about more in depth shortly. Being featured on the online press room is a great way to stand out over other exhibitors and easily amplify your show presence, especially when you have a limited budget and sort of need to pick and choose your investments. Since we mentioned the press, I did want to quickly share a few highlights from a survey that we conducted with journalists. The topic at the time was specific to virtual events, but it's applicable to in-person and shows with, digital components as well. Particularly since some media that cover RSNA are, they're covering it kind of leading up to the show and after the event or remotely. And there is also a virtual component to the show. So we thought that this would be helpful. One of the questions we asked was, what is your preferred way to receive virtual event news? Not surprisingly, journalists still love to be pitched directly, but also like more automated email alerts and are kind of split between wire services and event sites, all of which we can help with. We also asked reporters what would make their job easier when covering events. And the running theme was having news, other content, and company representatives easily accessible and available before, during, and after the show. So with that in mind, we're going to look at how an online press kit can help make your job and a journalist's job simpler. So I do want to quickly note that we have 3 different levels of press kits, but each feature we're discussing here applies to every level. So we often use the term online press kit. It's really sort of just like a content hub or an event microsite that is hosted on the press room. So it can house anything from news announcements to high-res images and video to case studies or brochures. For a highly technical show like RSNA, the participants are expecting and really do want a lot of content, and this is an efficient way to easily deliver information. The other great thing about hosting your content on a kit like this is that it's quick and simple to set up, and if you have any last minute changes, it's very easy for us to edit. We also have distribution capabilities. So as I mentioned, for any recent news announcements that you elect to place on your press kit, we will automatically email those out for you. They'll reach the registered media list and other industry professionals who signed up to receive news from us about the show or this industry. This is a huge advantage over DIYing a site or using other services because we can guarantee distribution to the journalists that you want to reach in a way that they prefer. Another important part of an event microsite is one that's often overlooked, and that's just simply contact information. Include your company address, your PR agency rep if you have one, the best person to connect with during the live event, who to connect with after the event for follow-up questions, etc. One major perk of an online press kit over hard copy, of course, is data. For our press kits, we provide you with reporting metrics. You can easily see numbers on visits, clicks, downloads, email opens, and even the amount of time spent on individual pages. To personalize your kit, we can incorporate familiar branding elements such as your company logo. There's also space for a description, which you can utilize however you like. Even though you wouldn't be hosting the kit yourself, using a branded microsite like this helps keep your event messaging visually consistent. Another major perk is having a shareable vanity URL. So to have a truly successful press kit, you'll want to promote the link to it as much as possible. in press releases and social media, that sort of thing. When you're using a link that much, you want it to be simple. The format of our press kit links is simply rsna.vporoom.com, then a slash and your company name. Having your kit online with a branded URL also makes it SEO friendly, sort of giving you an extra boost in exposure. So, now that you're all experts on the general features and benefits of the online press kits, we sort of wanted to take a moment to dive a little deeper into the 3 levels of press kits that I mentioned earlier. So we'll start here with the micro kit. This is our base level. It's $425. It includes all the elements that I just went over, like that shareable vanity URL. The main micro kit feature is that it hosts up to 3 pieces of content. So you could do 3 releases or 1 release, 1 photo, and 1 video, any kind of mix and match that you want. Social sharing buttons are also built into the kit so that anyone can easily share a release on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. There's also an email button to make sending the press kit to a colleague, prospect, buyer, or journalist super simple. And then those reporting metrics come in the form of weekly and monthly emails containing information and data summaries on how visitors interacted with your content. And then finally, the press kit is active for 1 year. That's a common question that we get. So you can continue to use it in your follow-up and outreach efforts well after the show ends. We don't just shut it off when RSNA closes. The standard kit is our mid-level and most popular option at $725. It includes all of the features of the micro kit, but instead of 3 pieces of content, you get 6. At this level, you also unlock the ability to embed up to 3 assets with each news release. So what does that mean? An asset could be anything from a photo to a video to a PDF. So for example, if you have, 6 press releases, you filled up your standard kit, you could also add 3 images to each one of those releases. And those embedded assets would not count toward that 6 file total. You also get your choice of branding design color. This is the accent color that affects the button colors, link colors, and is usually one that we match to your logo. You can kind of see in the little thumbnail here, the design color on this one is green. So that's why it looks a little bit more cohesive there. And then to further create a branded experience, we can add your company's social media properties in a call out box on the right-hand side. This just makes it easy for readers to connect with you, especially since we can pull in live feeds from certain properties like Facebook. And then the premium kit is our highest level at $1,025. Again, it includes all the features of the standard kit, but instead of the 6 pieces of content, you get upgraded to 10. We also add a scrolling photo slideshow banner feature with up to 5 images. This appears under the main logo or banner that sits at the top of the press kit. It's really great for, drawing attention to certain show highlights or for showcasing a call to action. Each image can have a caption and link out to a page of your choice, whether that's on your own website or somewhere else. We have clients that use this to draw attention to new products, speaking engagements, or giveaways, or if they just kind of have a lot of different things going on that they want to call out. If you're looking to capture leads, we can also create a completely customized lead generation form. This is perfect if you want to book appointments for demos or interviews, or you really just want an additional way to gather prospects. And with this premium press kit level, we also do a little more magic behind the scenes to enhance the SEO optimization. So depending on your event focus, one of these probably stands out as a better fit than the others. In general, micro kits are great if you just have 1 or 2 announcements and want to make sure that you reach the attending media with those. Standard kits are ideal if you have multiple announcements or a lot of supplementary content that you want to be able to easily share with various groups. And then, of course, if you have a ton of content or if you have several different campaigns with specific needs, that's really when the premium press kit level comes in handy. So to make your online press kit as successful as it can be, we'd like to offer you some tips and best practices. After all, the online press kit is a tool, but for it to be effective, it has to be put together and promoted properly. And I do want to mention, even if you don't end up getting a press kit with us and you do something on your own or another service, many of these tactics can be applied to other solutions. So we hope that you find these helpful no matter what option you go with. So number one is definitely use relevant content. You're creating a microsite for a reason, right? You don't want to force your audience to sift through old content that's not pertinent to the show. They could just dig through your website archives for that, and no one really wants to do that, right? You really want to save people time here. So instead, pare down materials to only the most pertinent for the event and your story. Journalists do use these kits as a resource, and oftentimes we'll see the exact images and other documents supplied on the kit as the featured photo or quote in earned media articles. I'll go into more detail on this shortly. For the content that you do choose to feature, utilize the mix and match format approach. One type of content might resonate with one person over another, so include text, images, and video if possible. Infographics are one of my favorite things to see on press kits because they convey a lot of information in a smart visual way and can be used by various audience groups. Essentially, the more types of content that you include, the higher your chances are of having someone utilize it. And then for this third tip here, I really cannot overstate this one enough. I've already mentioned it a couple times, but promote the URL. The whole, if you build it, they will come idea is not a sound strategy for this particular kind of event promotion. You really do need to be proactive. Include the link in press releases, emails, invites, on social media, on your website, anywhere that makes sense. You know where your audience is better than we do, so share your content in the spaces that they frequent that make sense for them. However, I do want to mention that we do a bit of promotion ourselves to give you a boost here. So we send out what we call a roundup release that promotes the RSNA online press office. This gets sent out over PR Newswire's US1 newsline and is targeted for the health technology industry with the goal of helping to drive more traffic to our page and hopefully to your press kit as well. And that's something that we send out a few days before the show. Don't forget that your press kit is a tool to be used during live show hours too. So, most people do see the value of the press kit for that pre-show promotion piece and even post-show follow-up, but then sometimes kind of forget about it while the show is actually happening, and that's when it can really shine. So if you're, having a conversation on social media or collecting someone's email address for follow-up anyway, the link can easily be shared, mid-convo as well and be helpful there. As I mentioned, the press kit is a great follow-up tool, so be sure to include the link in all of your post-show communications and pitches. Leads gathered at trade shows sometimes can be notorious for being lost simply because no one ever followed up with them. So if you're doing any follow-up at all, you really are already ahead of the game there. Of the people that you do reach out to, remember that they, chatted with hundreds of people. So instead of trying to, rehash your conversation in the email to try and jog their memory, you can include the press kit link as a reference. So, if it's visually branded and contains things that you discussed, they'll hopefully instantly remember who you are. You can still include personal details in your outreach, of course, but the press kit really does a lot of the heavy lifting for you, which is why it's great for pitches as well. And then after the show, don't forget to examine your reporting information, of course. So no matter what kind of service you're using, this really is a crucial step. You'll want to take stock of, what content performed well and what maybe didn't perform so well. This knowledge can then, help inform next year's strategy or even other campaigns that you're doing. Event marketing really is a constant learning process, especially over the last couple of years with how things have evolved, and we just expect it to continue to go that way. So one of the most important things you can include in your press kit or in any content plan is multimedia. It resonates with everyone, but we wanted to take a moment to showcase why visuals are so important to journalists in particular. Each year, Cision publishes a global state of the media report on trends in journalism that also identifies opportunities for PR professionals to partner with them more efficiently. We've highlighted a few key findings from this report on this and the next few slides. The main call out here, though, is that more visuals mean more engagement for your content as well as for, what journalists are putting out. So including images and videos with your press releases and in your press kits can really just only benefit you and your brand. However, not all multimedia content is created equal, of course. You probably know that for a journalist to publish a visual element, it has to meet certain quality specs. We even have, minimum spec requirements for images and videos that are being distributed through PR Newswire for the same reason. We want to make sure that we're sending out high quality content that journalists can use. So when selecting your photos or videos, make sure that they are high quality and provide text captions with them to provide further context. High resolution files often mean large files though, and sending or downloading this kind of material can be tricky. Therefore, the best way to share multimedia content is with a link, like an online press kit, especially if you're putting together an email pitch. The journalist will then have access to the high resolution files you want them to use and not have to mess with a password or expiring link, and then can just, focus on their work. This slide just, kind of builds on the themes of how important multimedia and making it accessible is. But I thought it would be helpful to see the most popular types of content that journalists are recently featuring in their pieces. Unsurprisingly, images, video, and infographics lead the way. So even if you don't think you have any multimedia assets to share with the kind of announcements you may be making at the show this year, try to see if there's a creative way to display some of that information in an infographic or other visual. The asset doesn't have to be award-winning to make an impact. It just has to exist and be available. Okay, so now that I've thrown all sorts of information at you, here's an example of what happens when that all kind of comes together. So here you'll see a video, if I can get this. Sorry, oh, it's just going. Perfect. Okay, so here you'll see a video as I'm going over a couple of the highlights here. So first, you'll notice that the press kit has cohesive branding. They have a banner, matching design color, as well as a company description and website, plus their social media accounts. You'll also notice that they have their contact information available, including an address and the details of an individual person. We recommend posting at least one press release, as this company did. It was focused on RSNA and gave all the pertinent details for what they had going on at the show, making it easy for people to tune into their live demos. This is really a great example of an effective event-focused release. And then to give audiences more content to work with, this company also provided several videos and brochures to contextualize their news. So supplemental content like multimedia elements help to enhance the story, really giving journalists some additional tools to use in their reporting. And, it also gives attendees more ways to absorb information. So it might look like there are a lot of components and moving parts to this, but we truly try to make the process as simple and as seamless as possible for you. You pretty much just email us the content and then we do the rest for you. So now up next, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Moving on from the press kit, my colleague Trina is going to discuss press releases, how they can help your business, and share a few new things that we have for this year.
Awesome. Thanks, Ariane. So when exhibiting at events, most companies rate connecting with customers, generating leads, and having a brand presence at the event as their main objectives. Press release distribution is a great way to complement your event presence. Sending a press release out over a distribution network has numerous benefits. Press releases are a great way to reach new audiences and generate brand awareness. Depending on the newsline selected, PR Newswire's network includes 4,000 plus websites and can reach trade publications in the healthcare industry. People work for businesses, and people can't buy your product if they don't know about it. Press release distribution can send a release promoting your product or service over thousands of points, increasing awareness and possibly sales. Press releases can also help create a relationship with the media. Journalists receive dozens of irrelevant pitches and press releases each week. Having a well-written press release that fits journalists' desire will not go unnoticed and can lead to an interview or earned media article. Going along with reaching new audiences, press releases can boost SEO traffic. Having a high-ranking press release on Google or other search engines provides enhanced exposure to current and future customers. A well-written press release can also help demonstrate thought leadership, which is imperative if you're a B2B company. Trusting that a company is knowledgeable and their expertise is a major part of buying decisions. And going along with trust that thought leadership brings, press releases also build credibility as both media and consumers view press releases as a trusted source of data. Encouraging customer engagement is an important step in the customer and media journey, as those that engage with your content are more likely to buy or reach out for media interviews. So a well-written press release can lead to sharing on social, clicks on links, and more. And then last but not least, sending multiple press releases helps you create a content portfolio, which furthers credibility. If you've ever gone to a blog or website and saw that they only have like 1 or 2 things on there from 2008, it doesn't really give a feeling of credibility and relevancy. So I went over the benefits of press release distribution in general, but sending a press release over PR Newswire also has other specific benefits. As I mentioned earlier, news distribution can increase SEO. Utilizing a PR Newswire distribution means your release will be posted on prnewswire.com, which receives 6.2 million monthly organic search traffic and more than 450,000 unique websites that link back to PR Newswire content. prn.com is an established website with a dedicated team to keep up with Google algorithm changes and ensure that releases on the site are consistently optimized. And another added benefit to press release distribution is targeted reach. With our influencer lists, you can reach journalists that specifically request radiology news, ensuring that you're reaching the right audience. All press release distributions also come with a post-distribution measurement report, also known as a visibility report, to help evaluate your results. After your release is distributed, you'd receive a 2-hour, 48-hour, 5-day, and 30-day report via email. The report includes graphs, geographic charts, and is highly customizable for all business needs to show how goals were met and ROI. And finally, another major benefit to press release distribution is access to counseling to ensure you are utilizing all the tools to get the most out of your experiences. While we're technically not a press release writing service, we understand that not everyone is savvy in press release writing. We are happy to look at your release before distribution and provide suggestions and small rewrites in order to provide peace of mind. PR Newswire editors also review the release for grammatical and spelling errors before distributing. So if you've never written a press release before, now is the time to start because you'll have access to editors that process press releases day in and day out. We know what makes a successful release and we want to share our knowledge with you. So we will be providing our contact information at the end of this webinar. If you decide to use our service, please don't be afraid to contact us. Now that you know the benefits, to make this easy for you, we have a few pre-packaged options that will highlight that combine our online press kit service that Ariane went over with our PR Newswire distribution release. We also have some other newer offerings this year, so please listen up. Our national exposure package combines our mid-level standard online press kit with a US national PR Newswire release. This distribution targets the media, industry professionals, and websites across the US, so it casts a wide net, providing broad coverage that helps reach new audiences. Consider this distribution if you have new products, medical breakthroughs, or other major event announcements. The National Exposure Package includes one 800-word release that is sent to newspapers, radio, TV, and trade magazines in all 50 states. It also goes to more than 4,000 websites, receives SEO via posting to prnewswire.com, and distribution to PR Newswire for journalists, and post-distribution visibility report. Our other package option is our web visibility package. This package combines our mid-level standard online press kit with a US web-only PR Newswire release. So this option is the best if you aren't interested in reaching the media, but you want to promote your news or content to an audience outside of your own channels like your website and get an SEO boost. This option is great if you're promoting a company blog or interesting but less timely content. And the web visibility package includes one unlimited word release sent to over 1,600 websites. It receives SEO via posting to prnewswire.com and the post-release visibility report. Please note that this package does not include distribution to PR Newswire for journalists, distribution to those newspapers, radio, TV, or trade magazines. This is strictly web only. We are also offering for the third time the National Bundle Package this year. This was our most popular package in 2022. This is essentially the National Exposure Package on steroids, as it comes with one asset, which can be a logo, photo, or video, and the Radiology Influencer List. The Radiology Influencer List is an email list of 48 journalists that requested to receive radiology news. The influencer list includes journalists from publications such as AuntMinnie.com, Radiology Today, Health Imaging, and more. We focused on our US offerings, but we do also have other packages available that prepackage international distributions as well. And back again this year, but under a different name, we're excited to offer guaranteed paid placement. Guaranteed paid placement allows you to reach audiences in a new way. So traditionally, this is only used in marketing, but this paid advertising technique is making its way to the PR world. This product uses already existing assets, your press release, and an image, and it turns it into a native advertisement that seamlessly fits into news feeds on premium publisher websites. The authentic format encourages reader engagement and enables you to reach audiences browsing their favorite websites. When the reader clicks on the native advertisement, it leads to an articleized version of your press release on that publisher's site, also known as a native article. This creates an earned media feel without having to wait for your release to get picked up by publications. This is a perfect complement to PR Newswire distribution as it combines paid and earned tactics. And here is a quick view of how it works. Once your release is distributed through PR Newswire, your release will be converted into a native paid advertisement and gather a guaranteed number of impressions on a specified number of publications. When a user clicks on an ad unit, they'll see the native article without ever having to leave the publisher's site, which lends to credibility. There are 3 different add-on levels: basic, which includes a minimum of 3 sites and 30,000 impressions; plus, which includes a minimum of 6 sites and 60,000 guaranteed impressions; and national, which has a minimum of 6 national premium sites and 60,000 guaranteed impressions. The basic and plus levels have different sites based on chosen industry. Health, for example, includes sites like WebMD, patient.info, Everyday Health, and more. The cost to add on guaranteed paid placement is $500 to $1,000. So we've gone over the benefits of news release distribution and the tools to accomplish those goals. So now, to ensure you're getting the most out of your event news, I'm going to dive into some tips for creating successful press releases. These tips can be used whether or not you decide to purchase something with RSNA, so please listen up. The first tip is to make sure you incorporate the event name or your company name in the headline or subheadline. Headlines should be under 100 characters, with the most important information appearing in the first 70 characters. This is because 65 characters is the cutoff point for email subject lines and newsroom feeds. Also, according to Cision's State of the Press Release report, action verbs have a big impact on views. While announce and launch are common action verbs to use, they don't translate into page views. Instead, action verbs like allow, reveal, and rolls out tend to pique curiosity and provoke clicks. You also want to feature a clear call to action. It's important that you think about the goal of the press release and what you want readers to do next. Is the goal to drive attendees to your booth? Then you should ask readers to make an appointment. If it's to drive traffic to your website, ask readers to go to your website. And as a side note, if you use Google Analytics, you can make any call to action link trackable, and you can see how many website visitors came from the PR Newswire release. I provided a link to build trackable URLs on the slide. As for placement of the call to action, you'll want to make sure it appears toward the beginning of the release and at the bottom. People read differently. Some skim through the whole release and others only read the first few paragraphs. The next tip is to utilize multimedia like images and videos. I know we sound like parents nagging their kids to eat their veggies, but it is important. Adding one image to your release can double engagement, and adding video could triple it. We also recommend using natural language and disruptive formatting like bulleted lists and bolded subheadings to make the release skim friendly. The next tip, don't forget to put your booth number or link in the release. You'd be surprised how many releases don't include a way to find the company during an event, but it's so important. And the final tip is to take advantage of social media. RSNA has an official hashtag to utilize, which is RSNA23. Tweet your news and show updates out with that hashtag to ensure that you are reaching interested audiences on social. So one of the main questions we often get about news releases is, when should I send it? Most exhibitors send their releases the first day of the show, but just because everyone else is doing it that way doesn't mean it's the best time. The first thing you want to think about is, again, the goal of your release. If you want to drive booth traffic, then sending your release out during the show is already too late. Attendees are busy during the event and may miss your announcement, and most attendees have a schedule of meetings before the show. Now, if you have a new product announcement and are looking to reach the media, releasing in conjunction with the show may not be a bad idea. This tactic could help get more media attention since the media are already looking at the news coming out of the show. But be cautious since many companies tend to release news on day one of the show, and your news could get lost in that industry making a huge announcement the day you want to send your release. Also, Tuesdays are a very popular day of the week to send news, most likely because studies have shown Tuesdays are the most productive day of the week. So if you want less competition, sending another day of the week might be preferred. And just like it's okay to send out more than one tweet about a subject, you are allowed to send out more than one release. Each release should have a different angle, but sending multiple announcements helps to keep your company top of mind. Also, RSNA happens 3 days after the US Thanksgiving holiday, and while it's tempting, it's probably best to avoid sending news the week of Thanksgiving, as people often extend their vacations that week, and so they might not be working or looking at news. At the very least, we'd advise you to avoid sending your news the day before Thanksgiving. And the last timing tip is to be mindful of RSNA attendee behaviors. When we attended RSNA in the past, we talked to exhibitors and asked them how the show was going, and one exhibitor gave us great insight. The first day of the show, Sunday, usually consists of more international attendees, and the US attendees tend to come to the show the second day because of that Thanksgiving holiday. So keep this in mind when thinking about what audiences you want to reach and when it would be best to reach them. So in order to put everything we just went over into practice, here's an example of a really successful release that Gleamer sent for RSNA 2022. As you can see to the right, the company name and trade show name are included in the event headline, which helps the release come up in searches for RSNA news. This release is about a prestigious award and AI, which is current and newsworthy. Gleamer also included 3 images, which helped increase engagement and illustrate their product in a visual way. And finally, they included 2 quotes in the release, making journalists' lives easier as they can copy and paste the quote in any news articles they write about Gleamer. Another thing to note was the timing. Gleamer sent this release on the 2nd day of RSNA, mid-morning after stock market open, which is 9 a.m. Eastern time, and it was at an off minute, 11:41 a.m. Avoiding stock market open and sending at a time other than at the top of the hour or half hour are best practices we recommend for maximum visibility. So I just told you why this release was successful, but in order to know if a release is successful, you need to have some way to measure it. As I mentioned earlier, PR Newswire distribution includes visibility reports, which provide metrics on how your release performed on PR Newswire's websites, syndicated websites, and PR Newswire for journalists. Here are the visibility report averages in each category across all releases sent over PR Newswire in August 2023. This release had slightly below average views and media views. However, for the radiology industry, it performed well. Also, this release was sent prior to a big network update that happened earlier this year, so the averages in November 2022 were actually lower and more in line with this release's performance. The media views this release received were from journalists discovering the release on PR Newswire's dedicated site for the media, PR Newswire for Journalists. There were reviews from varying outlets like Ocular Surgery News and other healthcare publications. In some cases, the report can also show the registered name and organization from which the user viewed the release. For example, this report showed that a government agency, universities, and a large cloud computing company viewed the release. And finally, the most important indicator of success is engagement. Engagement means a reader was invested enough in your release to take an action of some kind. The engagement actions on this release were from the readers clicking on the 2 links in the release, and this release received over 50% more engagement actions than average. So we just threw a lot of information at you. This does conclude our webinar, but here are some resources if you'd like to learn more about anything we discussed today. And you'll be able to access a recording of this webinar with the copy of the presentation on the RSNA Exhibitor Best Practices page. And as a thank you for joining, we'd like to offer you 10% off of our services for RSNA. Just place your order at the link provided by November 3rd and put RSNA Webinar 10 in the special instructions. Now, this is only for companies that attended our webinar, so please keep that in mind before sharing the code. And again, if our packages don't serve your needs, please do not be afraid to contact our team at the information on the next slide, and we can work out a customized package for you and extend that 10% discount. And now we'll open it up for questions. So please type any questions you have. Any questions after the webinar or want advice regarding content strategy, please don't be afraid to contact us at 973-783-7787 or email us at vpo@cision.com. If you call, you may be directed to leave a voicemail. Please leave your name, phone number, and what event you're calling about, and we will call you back. If you have RSNA specific questions regarding your exhibit, you can email rsna@exhibits@rsna.org, and Sherry and her team will be able to help you. And so now we will answer our first question.
Okay, so I'm looking through the chat here. Trina, I don't know if you want to check and see if you got any private chats, but I have a couple here. So first one, is there a deadline to order? This is a great question. So there's no hard deadline to place an order. We'll even take orders during the show, though I don't necessarily recommend that. There are a few things to keep in mind here. So because of RSNA's proximity to Thanksgiving, ordering as early as possible really is to your benefit. We're not in the office on Thanksgiving or the day after, or that weekend. So you not only want to order ahead of time, but make sure you also get your materials to us in advance of the holiday if you want them to go live either on or before the first day of the show. Now, we do have a deadline for our roundup release that I talked about a little bit. So if you order any press kit package by Thursday, November 16th, we'll feature your company description and press kit link in a release that we send out a few days before the show. If you order after that date, we can still fulfill your package, of course. Your company just wouldn't be featured in that bonus release. And then I guess something to keep in mind on this topic is also just turnaround time. So getting a press kit created and adding content doesn't take much time. It's more about the volume that we have in-house, which increases the closer that we get to the show. So we recommend ordering early, but in general, we will get things done same day within business hours. We're typically in the office Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. I do want to have one other call out here. So for PR Newswire releases, those can take a few hours and have some back and forth. There's just like some more requirements with those. So for those in particular, we do recommend sending them to us at least 1 to 2 business days in advance of when you want them to go out, if at all possible. If there's any other one here. Okay, I had a press kit last year. Do I need to buy a new one for this year? Another good question. So when you purchase a kit, it is good for 1 full year. We really don't take it down after that time, but if you want to add, new content and have your kit refreshed for the 2023 show and displayed on the press room, you will want to reorder for this year. We'll use the same link and then just get things sort of updated for you and make room for new content. Okay, I think that's it for the questions on my end. Trina, did you see any on yours?
No, I don't believe so. There was just one, and Sherry answered it, and we also spoke about it. So I think we're set.
Okay, perfect. So I think that's all the questions we have for now. So I'm going to hand things back off to Sherry to formally wrap up the presentation for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Trina and Ariane, for sharing all of this information with our exhibitors about how they can do some pre-show marketing using the different media channels. And I personally loved all the tips that you shared, especially that they can take those tips and use them, for other events too. So thank you so much for sharing that valuable information. So this is our final educational webinar for 2023. However, in 2 weeks on October 25th, you will want to be sure to join us for our RSNA 2024 Exhibitor Space Selection Process Overview webinar. That is a mouthful. But in this webinar, the RSNA Exhibition Services team will review the process that we will be using to conduct space selection for RSNA 2024, including the priority point system and all of the important dates that you'll want to be aware of. So more details and a link to register is on our Exhibitor Best Practices page. And you can also check your inbox for a special invitation for that final webinar. I believe that went out this morning. So thank you again for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you all soon in Chicago.